that companies that call and are interested in locating in Logan County, they're all concerned about the same issues. Number one really is schools, infrastructure. They've got to have good infrastructure. And they all ask about local benefits and incentives. There are some wonderful state benefits and incentives that we are able to use, but they want to know about local benefits and incentives too. As business leaders, we should all be working toward more good jobs. We need more good jobs in this county. Too many of our working age people leave the county every day for work, and you know, certainly retail wants people to live, work, and play in the town if they're going to invest a lot of money in significant retail. But anyway, that's what they want. Good jobs, good housing, good schools, and good infrastructure. Now, 2 Logan County schools have bond issues on the ballot for May the 12th, for an election on May the 12th. It's critical that Guthrie passes this bond issue. It's critical. We have got to do something to help our public schools here in Guthrie. It includes a K through 5th grade school in southern Logan County, as well as much needed repairs and maintenance for the other facilities here in town. Cashion is also asking, they're asking for $3.7 million for facilities upgrades, new athletic facilities, a new ag barn, a new elementary school classroom addition. I don't think they worry a lot about passing that. They pass all of the school bonds that they put out there. So it's well supported. We need to support our schools. The issue is we also have on April 7th we have a city council election. You know, it is so important for us to vote. It is so important. It's pathetic how few people vote in local elections and in county elections. So please vote. I think that you're going to see enough in the media and in the news about the people who are running, but nothing helps unless we vote. We have got to vote and be active and take an interest in the local economy and the local communities. But this county is growing, and it's going to take planning, and it's going to take cooperation between the towns and the county. They're going to have to work together to do things that neither could do by themselves. So I just think that it's so important for everyone in this room to step up and take your leadership position. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Deidre, and she's going to tell us what we could do, what we can do, if we do the proper planning.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Kay said that I have to use this microphone, even though I've always been told my entire life that I'm a big mouth. But okay, so I will use this. And thank you very much for coming out this morning to see econ charts and graphs. Either you guys are really geeky, or you enjoy each other's company, or the breakfast here is really good. So I'm assuming that it's probably the latter. But thank you for coming, and hopefully we'll make this somewhat exciting. As you can see, we had a little bit of tech problems, and with all of the cords and, okay, this is a really technical verbiage here, thingamajigs. My slide is in PowerPoint, and we had to use Keynote, so when it transferred, some of my slides are messed up. So what I will do is make sure that Kay has a copy in a PDF form that she can email out to everybody, because some of these slides and graphs, well, I think they're impactful. I think they're cool. Of course, I did them, so of course I think they're cool, but hopefully they can help when you're looking at policy and other kinds of things. So, and if that doesn't work, if there's some night where you're having a really hard time falling asleep, just pull them out, start looking through the graphs, and boom, you know, it's better than counting sheep. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to actually ask, How much do you think you know about what's going on in Logan County? Well, of course the county commissioner is going to say, yeah, I know what's going on. Excuse me. So tell me, what's going on in Logan County?
It's growing.
It's
A lot
growing.
of
Okay, what does that
economic
mean, it's growing?
A lot more businesses, a lot more housing.
Residential development. So we have, you said more people. Okay, can we quantify and qualify? And I don't want to hear from Kay because I talk to Kay about this all the time. What do we know? What's the age of Logan County?
The population's outgrowing the infrastructure.
The population's outgrowing the infrastructure. Okay, that was kind of a trick question because when I said what's the age of Logan County, you should have said, well, 1889. Really? Okay, we're going to need some more coffee. I know I'm an economist and I have economist humor, but really, okay. So how old is Logan County in terms of its population? Young, old, medium, what?
Age.
Young.
Okay, we have old over here and we have getting younger over here.
True.
Okay, what color is Logan County? White?
Pretty much white.
Pretty white? More white or less white than the state? Less white than the state? Okay.
I go less.
What about income? Better or lower income than the state?
Average.
Better income than the state, okay?
Better.
Now, there's a difference between income and wages. Higher or lower wages than the state?
Huh?
Okay, AJ's seen way too many of my presentations. I'm not going to let you answer it either. Okay, so here are some of the things that we talk about in terms of economic and workforce development. And these are the demographics that I want to talk about today. We'll go through them, but the population, age, diversity, educational attainment, labor force, and then I have some kind of cool graphics that I just found, and I know that I need to get this done in about 25 minutes so all of you can go to work, because that's what I ultimately want, is all of you to work so that you can make money, so that Logan County can prosper. But we'll go through this so that you can see what's going on, and we'll check to see how much do you really know. Because we often think we know about the trends in geography based on our observations. The problem is, where we observe is most likely to be just like us, because that's the area where we stay. Are the people, so you think the educational attainment is somewhat similar to yours, the color is somewhat similar to yours, the age is somewhat similar to yours. And so we need to see, okay, well, what do the data show us, and then let's see if there's a gap. Now, when we talk about economic development, I can tell you that in the past, when I started in this about 10, 15 years ago, companies would always ask about basically incentives. They, you know, when you look at an economy, there are four things that a company is very interested in. The first is you have to have an entrepreneur who's willing to risk some skin in the game to have a business. The second is you're looking for a place, right? So you have land or lease. The third is you have to have machinery, so we call that capital. And you have to have something for people to work on. And then the fourth is labor. And those were never really a problem, and Oklahoma always competed very well because we had lower wages, we have lots of land, we have the fourth highest ranking entrepreneur percentage in the US, so we have a lot of people who want to work and start their own business, and we had a banking industry, except for this little blip in the 80s, that's very, very strong. When we went through the recession, we had very minor fiscal issues compared to other states because our banking industry learned about from the 80s. So when you look at that, we had very, very strong potential economic development. However, things have changed. Things have really, really changed. And now labor is king among the four because more than ever before, your workforce has to be skilled. And I don't necessarily mean your workforce, everybody in your workforce has to have a bachelor's degree. What I mean is your workforce has to have a market-demanded skill. And most of those are in technology. The vast majority, over 50% of the jobs now require an industry certificate or credential or associate's degree. Those kinds of things that are found at Francis Tuttle, okay, or OSU OKC, or those kinds of schools. And so you have to think about that. How technical savvy is our workforce? So let's go through and look at this. Okay, Oklahoma population change. You're absolutely right. Logan County is growing by gangbusters compared to other counties. In fact, you're growing way too hot for your infrastructure. It's kind of like Nevada. What you have in Logan County is what you had in Georgia and Nevada and some of those other places where you're growing by 15 and 20%, and that means your infrastructure is way behind. You can see the blue counties, this is from the census in 2000, the dark blue counties have grown by 25% or more over 13 years. That is crazy, crazy growth, and it's very, very hard because when we look at the age demographics, you're going to see that particularly the populations that are growing in your county are the older populations and the younger populations. So we were right when somebody said, yeah, Logan County is getting older and Logan County is getting younger. It's both. So what you have is a double-humped camel. And what is the same or similar between people who are under 18 and people who are over 65?
They don't work.
They're not working.
They're not employed.
They consume more service. Again, Senator, she's like Hermione in, it's always like, me, I know the answer. I'm just giving you a hard time. I see her all the time at the Capitol, so she gets all this information over and over again. Yes, they take services. They're not paying taxes, they're taking services. And so when you look at your population and where it's growing, not only do you have more people, but the composition of your population is changing, so those people that you're getting more of require more services. So we see that Logan County, and of course you see this, the growth around Oklahoma County. But let's go to just the past 3 years. So this is from the 2010 census, and we have 3.5% growth in Logan County in just the past 3 years. When I look at 5 years, the past 5 years growth, Oklahoma has grown at 4.5% and Logan County has grown at 10.8% in 5 years. 10.8% in 5 years, okay? That is amazing, amazing hot growth. Now you also see, I want to point out some other parts in our state so you can see, but down here in Bryan County and Durant, they're growing like gangbusters. Also, I hate to admit this, but Texans are crossing the Red River. And why they're doing that is because the Sherman-Denison area is growing and the tax burden in Oklahoma is less than in Texas. Now, a lot of people say, whoa, wait. I know that Texas doesn't have personal income tax. That is correct. It doesn't. However, their property tax is 3 times higher for the average house size than in Oklahoma. So the total tax burden of a family that owns a home in Texas is significantly higher than that average family that lives in Oklahoma. And Texans are finding this out, and they're crossing the Red River, which, being a good poke, not so happy about that, but we'll take their money. The other thing that's going on, as you can see, this is oil and gas, right? People move where there are jobs. Now, we'll see what happens with population since we've had oil and gas softening a little bit the past 6 months. However, our economy is more diverse than ever. People think that oil and gas is completely running the state's economy. That is not true. It is very significant to our state's economy. Yes, it is very significant to particular regions of our state's economy. However, more than ever before, the state has a diverse economy in terms of aerospace and defense, ag bio, transportation and distribution, financial services, information services. The professional and business services in the state of Oklahoma added nearly 3,000 jobs last month. Okay, and then so oil and gas lost about 500 jobs, but other industries are gaining jobs. So we have the ability for people to transfer into other industries. Okay, so we know we're growing. Here's the age distribution, and this kind of messed up with the convergence. But basically what this shows is when you look at this kind of bump right here, you can see that and here's the problem is this is the U.S. and Oklahoma's on this side right here, and it added it. Oklahoma has what you don't want to have. When you have an age pyramid, you want it to kind of go like this, right? I mean, that's what a pyramid looks like, right? Well, we have more of a Marilyn Monroe. And while that's a good figure to have, it's not necessarily one that you want on your age distribution chart. And the reason why is because, well, what is the age of that coming in? That's your working group age that's in their 40s and late 30s. And that's a lot of the people who left during the late 80s, early 90s when they were graduating from college and they didn't have jobs. But we're having a huge boom of 20-year-olds, 20 to 25-year-olds, and what do 20, 25 people in their 20s do? They have babies. They have a lot of babies. And so we're having a baby boom in Oklahoma right now, which is very exciting for Oklahoma and it's our future. However, it's tough for fiscal purposes when you have those services and you have a smaller work area. Now, this is a particular graph I wanted to show you. This is particularly Logan County's population. And you can see with this one, the orange, the 2001 population didn't come up and it reverted. What I want to show you is how much the population in Logan County has grown over the past 10 years in terms of from under 5 to 20. Can you see in that particular chart the orange and the big gap from the other? That's, you have had a huge, huge influx of youth. And you're going to tell me that and that graph doesn't really show it, but you have basically gained 1,500 people from age 0 to 5 and about 2,000 people from 5 to 10. Now, do you have the elementary, daycare, and pre-K schools to handle? How many people total is that? That's a lot. I mean, that's what you're looking at. So you're, so no. The other thing you have is, look how this moves right. Look at the orange, that's 2001. Then the green is now, today, and then the blue is 2024. Look how your population is aging. Okay, it's moving significantly to the right. And so what that means is you need services both for youth and seniors or geriatrics, so pediatrics and geriatrics. And this is really going to affect accessibility. So you have to think about infrastructure, not just in growing infrastructure, but accessible infrastructure, so that your seniors can move around. Median age by county. Now we look at this a lot in economic development because your median age tells you a lot about both your households and your firms. When you look, and what is median? Does anybody remember from their 8th grade math class, median?
Top, bottom, middle.
I knew Greg Cummings didn't pay attention to Mr. Rutman.
I was cheating off of you.
Yeah. Median is middle. Middle. Median is middle. That means exactly half is above, exactly half is below. Okay? So it's not the average, it's the exact middle. And why we look at this in economic development is because it tells you something about the characteristics of the people in that county. If you have a lower median age, you're looking at children, right? You're going to be having a lot more children. If you're looking at a higher median age, you're most likely looking at population contraction because people will not be having children, but you're also from the firm side looking at the buying or consumer practices of those people. People who are 70 buy different things than people who are 20. I know this is a shock. This is probably the revelation that all of you are going to leave today and you're going, oh my God, I had no idea. But let's think about this for a second. Chad knows my father. He's 71 now, and I got him an iPhone, and he doesn't know how to use the damn thing. I mean, he looks at it, first of all, he does this. And he, why he has to have a mini computer to be able to talk on the phone, I have no idea. But he wanted one because his pals who have horses have one. Okay, so do you think he does any of his banking online? Oh my God, no. Oh, no, no. He wants to go in and he wants to talk to his banker. He wants to see his banker in the eyes. He wants to write a check. He wants to do all this kind of stuff. Okay, for those of us who are under, okay, I'm not in this category, but for anybody who's under 40, and I'd like, okay, let's just put ourselves there. Anybody under 40, when's the last time we went into a bank? I don't even know where my bank is. I have no idea. Everything is online. In fact, I now take a picture of my check to deposit it. So think about your services, not just as a company, but as a city and as a county. What kind of services do you need to pay water bills, utility bills, all those kinds of things? Different people require different services. Okay, here we go into diversity. Oklahoma white non-Hispanic proportion. So in the state, 68.2% of Oklahomans are white. We used to be, up until the last census, predominantly our largest minority was Native Americans. No longer. With the last census, it is now Hispanics. Okay? And so what we see is a state that is changing rapidly in terms of our diversity. With this particular slide, you can see those counties that are dark blue, Texas, Cherokee, and Adair, have less than 55% white. Adair is our only minority-majority county. It's Native American. Texas is rapidly becoming a minority-majority for Hispanic county. But you can see we're moving quickly. Now, when you look at Logan County, the blue means that Logan County has a greater than Oklahoma average of African Americans. Okay? So it's greater than 8.8%. But not yet the Hispanic growth that some of the other western states have had. Now, let's look at Logan County population composition. So here are our ages down here, 0 to 5, 10 to 14, on and on. Your orange, I always use orange when as my base color. Well, not only is it this, but rare. Crescent Tigers, always have loved orange. But I don't know if it's because I was born there or what, but love orange. Okay, so here's our orange, white, non-Hispanic. Looky here at how we're looking at, this is Logan County population. And the green is black, non-Hispanic. This green right here, this little green is Hispanic. Then you have these blues right here, Asian, and then you're getting into the red. This is Hispanic. So look at the growth of Hispanic, white, Hispanic, particularly in youth right here. So you have a very large African American population in terms of your high school, and a lot of that I think has to do with the Job Corps and a lot of the students that are in that area, because remember, well, and Langston, because Langston and Job Corps, when you do a census, it's where you are living the majority of the time. So of course that is a lot of people in that area, okay? But more and more diverse. Look at your populations above 50, how white they are, and then look at your populations below 40. Big time change in diversity, okay? Now, this one, okay. This is a slide that I really wish changed, and I'm going to show you here. And again, this will come out by PDF. What I want to show you is for the state. We're looking at 2014 to 2024 change in population, okay? 2014 to 2024. Can anybody, you see, okay, these are the bars and the different types of people. For those of you who are in the audience, which bar is growing by far the most? That red bar, right? That's white Hispanic, okay? Does anybody know what the second one is? 2 or more races. Okay? White is 4th. So when we're looking at how Oklahoma is going to grow in terms of just net population over the next 10 years, it is much, much more diverse. Okay? Keep moving, putting this down. Diversity is not the problem. Education is the problem. And we have got to make sure that everybody, regardless of their race or ethnicity, has an opportunity to gain a skill. Because when we look at Oklahoma's economy, it is about education. Now, Logan County is doing just fine in terms of less than high school education. You're in the lowest group here, so you're doing a good job of getting people through high school. However, in today's economy, high school doesn't mean that much. That's not the new minimum. It used to be with a high school degree you could get a good job. That's not the case. When we look at higher education, Logan County is in the second group here of 20 to 25%. Still not at, right around about the state average, but the U.S. average is 28. And in terms of economic development, we really like to have it at 30% or higher. That's when you're looking at companies with really high wages. Let's look at population below poverty. Logan County is doing pretty well, still in the second group here. The state is 16.9%, so Logan County, in terms of your percent of population below poverty, is below the state average. That's good. right? Yes, we're making good growth there. Median household income. Not the top state, but the next group. The state average is 45,000. You're in the 50 to 55,000 for household income. Pretty good, right? Really? No shaking of head? Pretty good? Okay, pretty good. All right. So, average wage. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We took a fall here. The state average wage is $43,000. Logan County's in the 30 to 35,000. In fact, it's about 32,850. Okay. Now, what does that tell us? We have low poverty, we have high household income, but for the county, we have pretty low average wage.
Nobody's working in one county.
Well, in Oklahoma, other counties are getting those workers.
Those workers
Bedroom
are
community.
Commuting.
All right, we have a lot. Let's look at the next couple of slides and let's see who's right here. Unemployment rate by county, very, very good. Below 5%. 5% is natural employment. You want your unemployment rate to be right around 5% so you have balance between firms and households. If it is above 5%, you have households who want to work that can't find jobs. If you have an unemployment rate below 5%, you actually have just as much stress on businesses because they want to hire people but they can't find qualified workforce. So what does that mean if you have no supply in labor? Your prices go up, your average wage goes up. All right, so here's our commuting patterns, and I'm afraid this is the latest data, so this isn't anywhere close to the new numbers that have happened. Because how many people did what was the growth rate for the past 5 years for Logan County?
10.8.
Somebody was listening. That was a test. And this group back here, this is not paying attention.
This is
I can
surprising to
tell.
me, I gotta tell you.
Richard isn't paying attention at all. He didn't know. 10.8%. Logan County's grown by 10.8%. And what was the state's growth? Oh, gosh. Yeah, 4.5. Okay. So now these numbers are going to be much, much higher. But here's our commuting pattern for 2011. You had 3,600 people from outside of Logan County come into Logan County to work. You had 3,100 people live in Logan County and stay in Logan County to work. And then you had, whoa, nearly 13,000 people who live in Logan County leave Logan County to work. So where are they going? Heading south. And so you see Logan County, and I mean, it's surprising because there's still quite a few people who go to Payne, who go to Stillwater and Enid. But boy, oh boy, do they head to Oklahoma County. Right there. And so when you look at it, you have the people who live in Logan County have around 16,000 jobs. Okay? And more than 3,600 travel more than 10 miles. So yes, commuting. So what does that tell us about the data that we have? When you have high income, you have low poverty, but you have low average wage, it means that people who have money live in Logan County but work outside of Logan County. Now not everybody, of course, I'm making generalizations. Okay, so here's what I was talking about with education. It is about education. When we look at the data, and you look at gender, age, ethnicity, race, all of those things get wiped away if a person has a market-demanded skill. Okay? Now that's what's important, market-demanded skill. In our market, 50% of the jobs that we have in Oklahoma require some college, vocational training, or an associate's degree. 30% require a bachelor's degree or above. And only 20% are sufficient for a high school degree. Now, here is the educational attainment of the state of Oklahoma. We have 50% with a high school degree, only 30% with our technicals degrees, and 23% with a bachelor's degree or above. So, what does that mean? If you're one of the Oklahomans with a high school degree, what kind of economic opportunity do you have in Oklahoma? Because there are 5 Oklahomans competing for how many jobs? 2. For every 2 jobs, there are 5 Oklahomans competing for that. Now, for every 5 jobs, there are how many Oklahomans? Okay, here's the answer, 3.
3.
For every 5 jobs, there are 3 Oklahomans. How would you like to be one of those people? What happens if you're one of only 3 people and there are 5 jobs?
Income goes up.
Man, I'm looking at benefits, vacation time. Do you have a cafeteria? Do you have a gym? Because I can pretty much choose where I want to go because there is not a supply for the people who need. Okay? And this is what happens. Supply and demand. Wages go up. Wages go up. Okay, now I bet everybody can guess. This is for 2013. What state had 10% growth in average wages? Oh, come on, this is an oil and gas area. Surely you know what
North
state.
Dakota.
Thank you. Very good.
And read well.
Man.
Sorry, good guess anyway.
All right, North Dakota, North Dakota. But does anybody know what the second state was? I'm going to give you a hint. It's in orange.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, okay? 5% average wage growth in Oklahoma. 5%. Here's the line for inflation. Look at all the states that are below inflation. The green states, the green bars, those are the states that are contiguous to Oklahoma, and they are green with envy because we are kicking their butt. But who is earning that money?
That would be
The people with education. And so that is the key to Oklahoma's economy right there. That is the whole key to Oklahoma's economy. When we look at Logan County job postings, okay, here are the unique, the jobs right here, okay? So these are the unique postings. So when you have a job, you post it and see how it's gone up, nice, steady. Okay, these are the total postings. Now, if you're an employer and you post a job and you get somebody, do you repost the job? Okay, that was an easy question.
No.
No. What happens if you post a job and you don't get anybody?
You repost.
You repost. Then what happens if you don't get anybody? You repost. Logan County has a 5-to-1 repost. And look what's happened in just the past 2 years. And look where we are right now, in January 2014. You have a 5-to-1 repost. Boy, your county could really be growing if you had the workforce that had the skills for the jobs in your market. But you don't. And so what does that mean for a company? It means you can't do the work that is available to do. If you had the workforce, you could do a second shift, you could do a third shift, you could take another contract. But what is holding back? There's one thing holding back, and that's education. And it's not just any type of education. What did I say over and over again? Market demanded education. And I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek because I have a bachelor's degree in history, and my father told me, what the hell are you going to do with that? You're going to be unemployed and living in my house for the next 20 years. Well, he was kind of right. I had to get a master's degree and then another master's degree because the first master's degree was in history of religion, which was even worse because that is not market demanded. So, Chad, don't tell my father that I admitted to this. Because the worst thing to do is to admit that your parent is right. But that's the case. Market demanded does not mean that you need a lot of history or religion, history of religion majors. It means that you need technical expertise, you need financial services, you need information services, you need aerospace, a lot of the engineers, STEM. So that's go. All right, so there's the kind of quick and dirty about Logan County and what's going on in your economy. And so you're right, Logan County is becoming younger, it is becoming older. It is becoming much more diverse. And something that you need to really look at and you have got to invest in is that Logan County is not keeping up competitively when it comes to education. People want to live in Logan County. They want to. But you have got to look at the kinds of jobs, technical jobs, and get that workforce to keep people in Logan County. And to have more money, which then, when people earn more money, what happens? You spend more money. And that's how it circulates, and that's how everybody becomes wealthier. So if there's one thing that I would say is that Kay is absolutely right. You have got to look at your investments because your youth population is just going to continue to grow. But it's not just any type of youth population. You've got to think about diversity. You've got to make sure that there are opportunities for people who are English as a second language. You have got to make sure that there are teachers who understand different kinds of learning methods. And you have got to invest in your youth. You have a great asset in terms of your population because you have an older population that can help. And they have a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, and quite frankly, a lot of money. So you've got to pull everybody together, and you've got to think about what do you want Logan County to look like in 10 years. You have all the assets you need. You really do. You have people coming in. What do you want it to look like? And then those are the decisions you need to make. So thank you very much. I know everybody needs to get to work. So are there any quick questions that we have? Yes, sir.
Roads, water, and sewer, what impact does that have on economic development on Logan County?
Oh, huge, because one of the things that companies are looking at is called site ready. So right now, the world is moving at a very, very quick pace. Companies don't have time to wait 2 years, oh heck, even a year, 2 years, for the infrastructure to be put in, because the infrastructure is put in Norman, or Purcell, or Chickasha. So if I'm looking at different places to compete, and the Logan County tells me, yeah, we can have this infrastructure put in place in 18 months. And Pauls Valley tells me, oh, look, we have an industrial park, and I have the electricity, the water, the sewage, and the roadways that you need, and all we need to do is build to site. It could take anywhere from 90 days to, let's say, 5 months. As a business owner, what are you going to choose? Every time. Because you're looking at how can you make money. That's what business is about. I mean, you're competing not with other companies in Oklahoma. You're not competing with Arkansas or Texas. You're competing with Argentina. You're competing with Mexico. You're competing with Malaysia. You have got to get your product to market. And so you need to be able to get in, get stuff going, have a workforce, and be able to get it out on the road. And I mean, come on. Logan County is wonderful in terms of I-35, I-40, all the different places you have, the transport. It is right there ready to go, but you've got to have site-ready areas. Good question.
Deidre,
Yes.
what would you tell a retired property owner that doesn't have children in school when you're ready to talk to them about why they should support a bond issue for the school district?
Okay, did I tell you I'm an economist, not a politician?
From an economic perspective.
Okay.
You don't want to be...
Here's the deal, is you have to think about wealth generation and what does it mean if other people are paying taxes. Because if you don't have a tax burden that is shared among a greater population, those people who do have property and do have wealth are going to take a higher percentage of the tax burden for your population. So it actually lowers my tax burden in the mid to long term if we make investments so that other households can prosper and therefore put in more money into the revenues of the city and the county. Okay, that's as an economist. I don't know if that works as a politician. AJ, does that work as a politician?
That makes entirely too much sense to work for politicians.
Oh, okay, makes too much sense. All right, but so here's the deal also, is that we have gotten into a thing where people think about cities and territories, and you have got to work as a county and a city. Like, yes, you have a city boundary, but with I-35 and everything else that's going together, the county has got to work with the cities and be almost, together. A company does not care if I'm in the city boundary or I'm right outside the city boundary and I need to work with the county or the COG or whatever it may be. All I know is you guys need to get your act together so that I can focus on what do I need to do to get my product to market. So that's good. Another thing I will say is that going forward, I think there are going to be less and less state incentives. Because even though we're getting in more revenue, we have costs that are outside of the appropriation budget, structure that are taking those revenues. So there is less money to be appropriated, which means you're going to have very, very strict control on what money is used for business incentives on a state level. What does that mean? It means incentives are more and more important on a local level. Counties and cities working together. Now, I would be very cautious about incentives that are cash structured on a local level. I think that's where you get into infrastructure and education. Because a company that knows that they can come in and they're working with a career tech, they're working with a college or university, and the county, the high schools, look at, if anybody wants to look at a process that is working almost perfectly, it's Mid-America Industrial Park, and it's called Mid-America Delivers. And there are 5 school districts that basically feed people into, not literally, the jobs that are at Mid-America. And you're talking about Google and other kind of manufacturing plants. Now, this is not a small industrial park. This is a multi-thousand acre industrial park with over 80 employees. But they were having such a hard time finding workforce that what they did is they came together with OSU-IT, Rogers State, and the 5 school districts. And now the school districts have 3 different plans for their high school group. They have an alternative, which means when you leave high school, you actually have a career tech certificate or an associate's degree that leads you right into one of the jobs in the industrial park. Okay? So you graduate from high school and prior, and the next day you're making 40 grand. Okay? You have your traditional high school, and then you have accelerated high school, which means when you leave high school, you have an associate's degree that will go right into a university. So that, think about it. Now as a family, I'm only paying for half of a bachelor's degree because half of it was paid for me when I was in K-12. Think about what that means and the kind of investment that is. When you can work together, those assets are already there. It's not going to cost anybody in Logan County anything to be able to do that. Those assets are already there. All it takes is cooperation and collaboration. It takes people working together at all levels. Yes?
Can you go back to your slide that shows the mix of educational requirements? At Meridian Technology Center, we're proud of the relationship that we've had with Guthrie Schools, as I know Francis Tuttle is with Cashin and Crescent. One of the challenges that we find, though, are getting enough students enrolled in career tech type careers. 91% of students who graduate from our facility, 6 months after they graduate, they're placed in a job or they're continuing their education. Our problem is not what happens after. It's how do we get more students enrolled in that pipeline?
Right.
Because the perception is that's less than...
Right. And here's one of the things I would say is that Career Tech has got to do a better job of having some introductory courses on the K-12 campuses. Because for Crescent, it's very, very difficult to go to Francis Tuttle or wherever it may be. I mean, that took you out during the day. And then you can't participate in other kinds of activities. So to get me hooked on Career Tech, I've got to have a bite of it on campus and see what's going on and see how it's going to affect me. And then when I know what my ROI, then I'll be more likely to say, okay, now my senior year, I'm going to go to campus and really learn more technical things because I see what my possibilities are. So there are 2 things. One, the collaboration from the K-12 side on this is a strong economic opportunity for you as a student, which it hasn't been told. And I told you, Mid-America, I mean, they work with the companies. So those companies, you can go right into a job. But the other side is the career techs have got to start the introductory process on the campuses, particularly those campuses that are more rural. Because as a student, you're not going to make that investment if you don't know what's there. But that's a good point, is that we have to have better collaboration. So, I know I've kept you over. Everybody needs to go to work, but I'll be here if there are any other questions. Thank you, Kay, for inviting me today, and thank you all for your great attention. So thank you.